This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Hello.
Hey Naresh, can you hear me?
Yeah, no.
Hello?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so let's go through some basics of the PEGA, followed by go to the main classes, the practical classes. So for today, we are going to see, right, as I said, PEGA is actually developed by using the Java programming language. So, what sort of information that we require, right, initially? So, according to the PEGA, so whenever we are going to build an application, whenever we are going to develop an application by using the PEGA, right? So, we need to understand the PRPC architecture. Okay, so here, just to understand the PRPC architecture, so we'll just touch a little part of the classes concept. So here, what sort of classes that we are going to use in PRPC is, right? We have generally two classes in PRP in object-oriented programming. So one is the abstract class, another one is the concrete class. So we know that there are two kinds of classes are
Yeah,
there.
I know what they are here. So, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So we just I'll just give we know, right, that the abstract class doesn't have any kind of a code logic. I mean the definition. So we don't have any implementation logic within the abstract class in a short. So whereas you are going to have everything under the concrete class. So you can conclude that whenever you are going to whenever you are going to develop anything in PRPC, firstly, right, the application implementation we will be doing within the concrete classes only. So anything that you wanted to write, right, whichever the common logic, right, which we are not going to implement, but we can be use it in the concrete classes. So in such scenarios, what we will do, we are going to put it under the abstract classes. And we know, right, in Java, we have the keyword called abstract whenever you want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
create a
yeah.
class.
Yes.
So in PRPC, how we are going to identify that is you are going to identify at the end of the class is hyphen. Okay, there will be a
Oh,
hyphen at the end of the class so that you can identify easily what type of class it is.
is it like a class name hyphen? That's what you're saying?
Right, exactly. So the syntax will be like this. So
Oh,
now,
okay,
if you
got
put
it.
in this kind of a class, so that should be the abstract class. If so,
Like
without a
if
hyphen,
if my class name is employee, then it will be employee hyphen.
right?
Okay.
So if it is simply the employee, then we call it as a concrete class. Okay.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. So the purpose of the concrete classes are we are going to have the application level implementation within the concrete classes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we can actually get inherited, right, from the abstract classes. We know, right, how we are going to give in a syntactical wise. So let's say class name, the concrete class name that you can say simply class B. Okay, so how we are going to do that? So if you take the class as a syntax, we will be having implements like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then class A. So class A, if you can consider that whether if it is a abstract class, so
Or a
where we are
concrete
going
class,
to
right? It can be concrete class too, right?
right.
No, no, no.
So
Okay, got it, got it. So it is. You can also extend if it is a concrete class, right?
right, that's what I'm saying. If it is a concrete class, okay. So what we can have basically, if you can take, right, extends, maybe if you take the class is a concrete class, so you
Right,
can
right,
actually
right.
do like this. Okay, so whatever the abstract classes, the objects that are available, so where you can implement them under concrete classes. Okay,
Right,
so
right.
if you have the concrete class already, which is
So
defined,
this classes concept is same as Java, right?
exactly.
Okay.
So, in a nutshell, what you can say, right? So, in PRPC, we do have lots of predefined resources. Either you are going to reuse it, okay,
Mhm.
or you are going to extend them in our application.
Okay.
So, you can say that there may be lots of abstract classes, okay, and there may be lots of concrete classes in your PRPC
So
resources, and then
we have no concept of interface, right? In
there is no
PRPC.
concept of interface in PRPC.
Okay.
Okay? So there may be so many abstract classes which PRPC is developed. There may
Mm-hmm.
be so many concrete classes again which is already available in your PRPC product. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that is the reason using PRPC we are going to, okay, reuse the resources, or we are going to extend it as per our current scenario. Right, so that
Okay.
is what the PRPC that is going to tell us. And next, when you come to the PRPC architecture, okay, so basically we call it as in PRPC enterprise class structure. Okay, in PRPC the terminology is somewhat different. Okay, so it should be enterprise class structure, what we call it as, or generally in Java, right? We used to have the your project architecture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in PRPC, what we call it as enterprise class structure. So
Mm-hmm.
again, it is having the different kind of layers. We are going to have in Free Fire like UI layer and business layer and the data layer, like, and in entire architecture we do have some additional layers. You can say
Okay.
that there are some interfaces, there may be some kind of integration interfaces, like, so there may be additional layers would be there when you go for the entire architecture, right?
Okay.
So similarly, if you are going to develop any PRPC project, right? So we are not going to design any kind of architecture ourselves, because the Pega is the product which is already there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you are going to develop an application, or when you are going to create an application, so by using the Pega, so whatever the architecture which is followed by the Pega, right? So on top of it, we are going to actually generate the things. Okay, we don't touch anything, but we will be creating the things on top of the architecture itself.
Okay.
Okay, so what sort of architecture that is available in PRPC is, so one thing, organization layer, division layer, framework layer, implementation layer. So we are actually having the four types of layers in our PRPC architecture. So organizational layer, and division layer, and framework layer, and finally we have implementation layer. So how we are going to take all these things when you are going to develop an application, right? So you don't have to create every time all these four. Okay, we don't have to create them for every time. So you are going to actually create the things which is exactly suit for the PRPC architecture. What I meant is, see, we are directly creating an application. We don't create any architecture and all, right? As I said, because the architecture which is already there. So directly we will open the Pega tool and create the applications in the Pega tool and start the development of the application,
Right.
whatever the
Right.
requirements that you have, right?
Mm.
But whenever you are doing something on the PRPC tool, right, in the front end, so back end something is going to happen, right? Some structural changes should be happened, right? So that structural changes, right, it should be sitting on top of all these layers.
Right.
Okay. So for example, let's say when you are going to create an application, right? So we will just understand how actually the organizational hierarchy. Before we are creating an application, we will get some information. What is their organizational hierarchy or structure? What you can say that. So
Okay.
first thing is, let's say that you are developing an application for an organization called banking SBI, right? So immediately, right, we will be asking a couple of questions to the SBI that this is your organization. Can you name few divisions in your organizations, right? So they are going to have lots of divisions. So one is like um, loans and the insurance sector, right?
Different
So there may
division.
be, right. So there may be account division, there may be a loans division, there may be an insurance division, and there may be some other things, right? So there may be lots of divisions in the organizations. So each division they have a certain level of applications, right?
Correct.
So now again we'll be pushing it, right? So you have a loan division, but what sort of units that you have in the loans? So let's say that they can say that personal loan, motor loan, right? There may be so many units available under the one particular division. For example, we are just naming it as a personal loan and motor loan. And similarly, in the insurance, what sort of insurance units are available? So let's say that personal insurance is one, another one is the motor insurance, right? So similarly, there may be a multiple divisions, okay, and there may be each division again they have one or more units, right? So again, right, depending on the organization hierarchy, you can have and further levels also. Okay, you can have further levels also, but it depends on completely the organizational structure how they have.
Okay.
Okay, so by using this actually, we are going to create the applications. We are going to create the class structure, whatever I talked about above. Okay, enterprise class structure. We will be generating this particular enterprise class structure. Okay, on top of these layers.
Okay.
Okay, so we are going to generate now. Okay, we are going not on top of the layers, on top of the PRPC architecture. Okay, so there may be so many classes that are already available with this hierarchy, right? With this layer,
Right.
right? PRPC side. So all these whatever the applications that you are going to create, they will be sitting on top of your PRPC hierarchy. That means on top of the PRPC classes, right? So now I can say here what we are going to do, right? In PRPC system, whenever you want to create an application, we actually required this particular information. That is the reason we are going to actually understand from the customer. Okay, so what's your organization and what is your divisions and what is your units and all. Once you understand this particular hierarchy, then we will put it in a system in a such way that it will be sitting, I mean, it will be generating the application class structure, enterprise class structure. So let me just put it here. So SBI is the organization, right? So what PRPC system is going to do whenever you are trying to create an application, so it will be creating starting the first class is the abstract class at the organization level.
Okay.
And the second thing that is going to create is the loans abstract class. And the third thing that is going to create is what we
So
have,
for each division, it create one abstract class
right?
for each
So
layer.
we have another division that is an abstract class. So here, right, it will be creating a concrete class, okay, concrete class personal loan. And
Mm-hmm.
another concrete class, it creates a motor loan. And here it creates another concrete class for motor insurance.
So if I have further division under a
Right.
PL, then there will be one PL abstract
Yes.
class.
Right. Okay. So it could be the same way that I mean whatever the PRPC standards that are going to follow. So why we need to follow this particular standard mechanism, right? So
Mm-hmm.
whenever you follow the same standard approach, you are actually going to develop the robust and very good performance-based application, optimum performance-based application.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason PRPC is trying to build an application by using this particular enterprise class structure.
Okay.
This is the one of the primary rule, right? Whenever you are going to develop an application by using PRPC, so the PEGA is going to tell us the first rule is you need to follow the standard PRPC class structure,
Okay.
because whenever you follow the PRPC standard structure, right, then you are going to comply with the, I mean, you can use a lot of standard rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can use lots of standard mechanism which PEGA PRPC is going to provide us. You can make reuse of the things, you can extend the things, right? So that
Mm.
is the reason the application development made easy, right? If you
Okay.
want, if you are not following this particular structure, so you may have to create lots of things by using the customization,
Right.
where you are going to making your application complex, right?
Okay.
So for this specific reason only, the RPC is just convey their developers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Follow this particular standard enterprise architecture design.
Okay.
So now, okay, let's coming to the point. Okay, so I said now it is going to actually generate, right, the enterprise class structure. So now you can say that here, and this is an organizational layer. Okay, and this could be the division layer, and this is the implementation layer, and this would be the implementation layer again, right? As you know, we have only one division layer, right? Whereas you can have multiple divisions and implementation in one particular organization. You got it? Why we are having this is, you can say, right? This is an organization level class, okay, and this is the division level class. So in this particular division, we have two particular concrete classes, right? So where we are actually going to implement the requirements, right? In personal loan, you are having a module, right? You are having a module, and you do have the requirement of that, right? We will be having a requirement, or we are going to develop application like this with these particular scenarios, right? Business cases, or you can say storyboards or whatever it is.
So where is the framework layer in this? We have organization, division, and implementation.
So now, whenever you are going to develop the framework, right? So definitely, when we are going to implement something, we will be making use of the framework class, right? So this could be like this.
Naresh,
Yeah, yeah,
you are able to hear me, right?
exactly.
Okay.
So whenever you are going to, let's say that, as I said earlier, okay, whenever you are going to develop an application, we have two things that we are going to consider when we develop an application. One is, do you have the framework already, or you want to generate the framework and then you are going to make use of that particular things in your
Okay.
application.
Mm.
So, for example, let's say whenever you choose the framework, right? For example, I am developing. Okay. For example, I am developing one of the application is the loan application, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means there would be a framework already available in the PRPC. I mean, when you are going to develop an application, customer is going to write, customer might have the framework already purchased.
Yeah.
Right? So whenever you have the framework, and customer is going to definitely suggest certain level of configuration and customization changes, because the framework 100% is not going to suit for the business, because there may be certain level of changes that is required, right? That could be maybe 10%, 20% sometimes, and depends on the requirements, right? So what that particular scenario will be doing it, we are going to extend it, right? So at the time of application creation, we are going to choose, okay, framework layer. We are going to choose the implementation by using the framework. So whatever the framework that you are going to import at this scenario, right, on top of the implementation layer, you will be having what? A framework classes, right? Whatever that we have developed in the framework application.
Okay.
So the framework class would be like this. If you can, let's say, there may be with a different name, but I'm just framework class how it is generating. Even if you choose right at the time of application development, let's say I want to develop the application first, the framework. So what is the framework class which is going to generate? It would be like this.
Okay.
Okay, so this is just the identification. Okay, nothing else. The RPC is
No,
following.
don't worry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So you are going, this would be the framework class. So what we have in the framework class, basically, or you can say the framework layer. So basically in the framework layer, we are going to have the reusable. That is what I said, right? So whatever the framework that we are going to develop, that can be exactly suitable for the other, I mean the businesses also, right? For the same purpose. So here, if you want to design any kind of a reusable thing, we will be developing that by using the framework. For example, let's say you can say reusable components that we are going to design. So
Right.
that can be designed under the framework, right? So those can be reused as is, or you are going to extend
Yeah,
them
yeah.
whenever the
I
functionality
got it.
happens.
Yeah.
So, so this is actually the choice at the time of the application creation. You are going to have an option in the
Right.
PRPC whether you are going to develop the application by using the framework. That means you are going to implement the application, or you are going to actually develop the framework. So you
So,
have two options.
framework layer is kind of optional, right? Like if you're doing a small
Yes,
application, you don't need to have a framework.
right, right. Okay, so that was the framework here. Sure. So this is actually, I mean, you can say that this is your application class structure, right? In short.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, on top of this particular application class structure, right, we do have the PRPC hierarchy also, because we said we are going to reuse it or we are going to extend it, right? That means there would be something on top of your class structure,
Mm-hmm.
application structure. So what is that is, one of the topmost class in PRPC is at base class.
Okay.
The super class in PRPC is at base class. And just under here, okay, there are so many standard classes. So one is
Okay.
the work dash, data dash,
Okay.
okay, and here we have int dash, okay, we have assign, okay, and we have history, and here we have so many standard classes.
Okay.
Okay, so under this PRPC, we do have some standard classes. So again, if you take the here, right, we have one of the class that is work dash cover, again under work. So similarly, in PRPC, we do have this kind of a classes.
So why do we have a at symbol in front of base class?
Not sure, maybe they just wanted to tell this is the one of the
Okay.
uh, root class. So
Okay.
again, this is the abstract class only. Okay,
Okay.
but they
Okay.
just give like this just to understand
Okay.
this
But
is
you don't put hyphen, right?
Yes, we don't put the hyphen there.
Got it.
Hyphen is not just mandatory. Just when you look at the class name, if someone likes,
Well,
then
that's fine.
we'll
Yeah.
add it.
No.
Okay. So now, whatever you say right here, it will be, there may be so many PRPC predefined classes, right? And
Mhm.
you have your application classes, which is going to generate when you create an application. This is what it is going to happen in the architecture. So this thing we call it as a enterprise class structure. Okay? So this entire thing we call it as a enterprise class structure.
Okay.
Okay, so now there are a couple of things here. Okay, PRPC terminology is quite different, right? We are not going to follow the same terminology from Java, okay, except the class concept. Other
Okay.
things, they have their own naming convention actually.
Okay.
So now here I can say that whenever you are going to design an enterprise class structure, so one is like we will be creating a class group. I mean, it is going to create something like a class group. So what is a
It's like
class group?
is it like a package?
Right. So a class group is something like this one. A loan is one particular class group. Under this loan, we have personal loan and motor loan, right? Each
Mhm.
class group we can have cases. You can have cases. That means, so loans is one particular class group. Within the loan, we have personal loan is one case and motor loan is one case. So that's the
Okay.
reason when you call the customer here, right?
Mm.
The bank. So they will be asking you, so what case you are looking, what information you are looking. Then you say that, okay, I want to create a request for credit card. So what they internally opens is like a credit card case, right? So they
Mhm.
take the request and well, I mean, once they said they will give you the case ID, right? So
Okay.
it's similar thing, right? So in one class group, we can have one or more
Mm.
cases. Okay. So the class group, you can say that this one. So class group is nothing but it is consists of the one or more concrete classes. Okay. So similarly, this is also one class group, right? Again, here we are going to have one or more cases. So you can say class group is like a one application in simply in general terminology. Cases are like a modules. Okay. So you can say that personal loan is, I mean, loans is an application. Personal loan is one module, and motor loan is another module.
So SBI loans is a class group, and
Right.
PL and ML is the cases.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So in PRPC terminology, we call them as a cases and a class group. Okay. So now, all right, what we are going to have here. So once you understood this, let's go to the something called inheritance here, right? See, definitely, what whenever you have the class concept, right? So the second thing we do have the inheritance over here, right? Reusability mainly because of the inheritance concept only, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here in PRPC there are two types of inheritances that we have. Okay, so one is the pattern inheritance, second one is the directed inheritance. Okay, so what is the pattern inheritance? So the default inheritance in PRPC is the pattern first, okay, and then next the directed. So what is the default inheritance here? Suppose when I'm going to do certain development here, okay, when I'm going to do certain development here, what sort of things that I can by default make use of?
Fine. Okay.
What sort of things directly we can make use from?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you say?
See, when it is comes to the inheritance, right? So suppose something I am doing it here. So
Mm-hmm.
what right I have to use? I mean, some from other
Yeah.
these,
Anything above like yeah, organization
right?
layer.
So all these things, right? I have the right to use it.
Right.
So in this specific scenario, we don't have to specifically, explicitly tell that take something from this class. It is not required actually. This kind of a inheritance relationship, we don't have to specify.
It is automatically available, is
Right,
it?
right. Automatically that is available when you want to do something in the personal loan class. Similarly, when you are doing something in the motor loan class, again it is available, automatically available, all these classes.
Okay.
So this is what.
So if you want to use some reusable things from one case to other case, then it is directed.
Exactly. So, for example, let's say that you have some kind of a framework, right? So we are directly using something from that framework, right? We don't have other option. If you want to make the use of the thing, what you can do, you just specify the framework class as a directed class.
Okay.
But so
Okay.
this is the framework class doesn't by default comes with your organization, right? If you want, you are going to take it from there.
Got it.
Right? So that particular scenario, we are going to specifically or explicitly tell your class that, so directly take from this. So by default, an option is checked, pattern is checked by default. Okay, if you don't want to do this pattern check, you can uncheck that. So system doesn't put anything under the its parent classes. Okay, so it is directly look whatever the directed class explicitly that you have specified, it will be taken from that, or we'll check whether it is available or not. Right. So at the time of this checking, right, let's say that I'm going to use one of the rules on so, and I specified that pattern, right? So how it is going to verify in the system, right? First it is trying to verify, okay, whether this particular class is available in the class or not. If it is not available, immediately it will go and check whether this particular class is available in the parent class or not. Again, immediately it will go and look for, if it is not found, it
So
will go for the,
it will keep going all the way top.
right, at base class. Okay, so because we can be we are going to create something in our classes, or we are going to reuse it, or we whatever the PRPC is providing the option, so we'll be reusing them. That means whatever the rules that are already available in the system, we can make use of that, right? So
Okay.
you have actually a provision that kind of provision that you have to use anytime there. So you don't have to tell it take from this class, take from that class, and all. Okay, so that is how the hierarchy. If it is not found, it will go and check it in the immediate class. Okay, so until it founds that particular rule. This how the actually checking is happening.
Okay.
If you take something, so it will verify it is in which particular class. So directed anyway, we are going to have will be specifying the class directly. So it will directly check in that class and then do the things for us. Got it?
Yeah, I'm good so far.
So this is the, I mean, class structure. I mean that PRPC is going to follow. You can say that this is an enterprise class structure. So even in the interview, right? If you go for an interview like Java or any other program, any other technology, first they will ask you explain about your project architecture, right? So they will draw some diagram and all. So here, how it looks, if you want to draw it, right? So the first thing is like we have the our application hierarchy, right?
Right.
You have your application class structure. Okay, so here we have an application class structure, And the second thing would be the PRPC, right?
Right.
So this is the, you can say, a PRPC based product, right? Or based product. Okay. So how we are going to have this, and in this application structure we have multiple things, right? So it depends on your the business requirements, right? So we can have one or more things, right? So in this, the first one is organization layer, and division layer. Okay, you can say that unit layer. So what if you take the directions line? Okay, so we'll have this one. Okay, so so from here we have again this.
So that at base class is within the PEGA base product, right?
Right. Okay. So now we are actually getting everything from this product. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Actually meant to here, okay, so not this side. So just leave this one. So now we do have another thing that is called the framework, right? As I said. So the framework, when you are going to have, so it should not be under your application hierarchy. So that is actually separate framework. So you can say here that when you are going to implement anything, so what we'll do, we are going to directly take the things from the
Framework.
actual framework, right? So, and framework you are going to design by using again the PEGA product. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
So you can say that, okay, so this one is the directed class, I mean the pattern class, pattern inheritance, and this would be
Directed.
directed, right? So this is actually basic. This is basically your
So you mean to say that if we are not using framework layer, then we won't be using directed inheritance?
exactly.
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah. We don't use it, right? If you don't have a framework, so why you are going to use it? I mean, there
Mm-hmm.
is no framework, but also how there is nothing
So
like
if
this,
there is no framework, there is no directed inheritance.
right? But
Okay.
there may be. I mean, that is the case of the. I mean, I'm saying with respect to the framework, maybe something that you want to use it, right? Maybe
Mm.
some other component that will be. I mean, some other thing we are going to develop, but you want to use it.
Mm.
So in that particular scenario, we are going to use that, but it may not be the framework.
Okay.
Maybe something else. So in PRPC, most probably we are going to use, right, framework classes. So
Mm.
framework.
So it's
So
basically anything I'm inheriting from Pega based product, it is a pattern inheritance.
yes,
And anything which I have developed, and if I want to reuse, then that will be directed inheritance.
exactly.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So now, um, just let me again go here. See what sort of other classes which are going to generate. So this is simply your application classes. Okay.
Unite.
PRPC is going to generate lots of other classes also. Apart from these classes, PRPC is going to create so many other classes. So what are those classes is, first it will create, okay, one class with this, one additional class, one more class that is going to create like this, a work. Because as I said, right, so PRPC, we are going to reuse lot of things. So when it comes to the work class, right? So it is going to create one of the class that will be a work like this. So what is this work class? What is this work first? See here, for example, let's say what we are going to do in this work class is we are actually going to do the work object implementation within this class. What is a work object first? For example, let's say what is a work here. Let's say if you are walking to the bank for a particular request, they will first give you some form, right?
Right.
So you fill up the form and you will submit that form. So that is your work. And once you submit the form, the employee is going to take in care of certain again some action on that. So they are going to finish their work, right? So in this whole process, whatever the work which is given to individual, they will complete it and they will move it further, right? The entire thing we call it as a work object.
Okay.
Okay. The entire thing we call it as a one work object. So each and individual, we are going to finish our work or our task, right? So the entire thing will be completed. So that the entire thing we call it as a work object. So whatever this work object implementation is there, whatever the work object implementation is there, so such things can be done within the work class.
Okay.
So there may be multiple work classes. So according to your work object implementation, so you will go to that particular class and do that sort of implementation. Right? For example, let's say here, if you are going to have the um, if, if you are going to do the work object implementation for personal loan, so what class it is going to generate? This class actually. So similarly, it is going to generate another class like this. Got it?
Is it like a data collection?
Yeah, there's data collection exactly. So not just only the data collection and lots of other implementations also. For
Right.
example, let's say if
Okay.
you take the personal loan, right, application, you're filling what? First your details.
So,
Okay.
Naresh, let me ask you a quick question. So, this SBI loans work PL, is it a class behind for the for a particular user interface or something? And what exactly it is?
No, it's not just only the user interface. So there may be other things also present within this personal loan work class. Let's say
Okay.
that the simple example I'll give you. Let's say you want to design here a customer form, right, where they can fill up their details along with their
Exactly.
loan
Okay.
details, right? So whatever the form that we are going to design to collect that information, that form we will design in the work class, personal loan work class.
Oh,
Similarly, for this particular form, you require some fields, right? For example, let's say you are going for the personal loan, so they will ask you your bank details, right, your PAN card details, and your address details, and your
first
information,
name, last name, whatever, right?
right? So your company details, whether you salaried or business, and all the required information they have to collect, right? For those,
Okay.
you may need lots of fields, right? So all those fields or properties or variables, whatever is required, we will be creating them under the personal loan
Okay.
work class.
Okay.
Right. So here, whatever such kind of a work object implementation is there, let's say some particular validation that you want to do. Let's say you want to allow, let's say some amount is there. It should accept only the integer, right?
So,
Or it should accept
the work class is only UI, or does it will also have UI and all other business logic and everything
all other business logic. That's what
plus
the
UI?
work object implementation related to business logic that you wanted to perform, we will be performing it under the personal loan work class.
Okay.
Okay, so in concrete class, what we will do generally in Java, all the business logic we are going to perform under the concrete class, right? It is not just something, right? So it should be the end to end, maybe. Maybe some other thing will just put it in a separate.
Correct.
Now, one more thing which is going to generate, right? Another thing it will be generating like this data. Okay.
So is it going to generate a class for everything like assign history?
Exactly. So
But how
that
many
is,
of them are there like that?
there are 12 standard classes actually.
Okay.
So it would be generating like this. So whenever you are going to do your application development, right? So we will be, I said, the work object related implementation, we'll be doing it here. So similarly, what we are going to do under the data, so whatever the data types that you have in your application, we are going to define in the, we are going to declare in the data class.
Okay.
So what's the data type here again? So for example, let's say you are going to develop the application, right? Multiple applications. Okay. So what is the data type is nothing but whatever the common data that you identified during your application development, we will consider that as a one data type. Data.
Okay.
For example, let's say customer info is one data type. So there you have first name, last name, right? Age, mobile, blah blah, something like that. So what you can use this data, I can use this particular data anywhere in my applications, right? I don't have to recreate that particular
Right.
properties.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to make reuse of the data properties in different classes, so that particular scenario, you are just going to create something under the data
Data
class.
class.
So this data class is going to generate at the division level, and this data class is also generate at the organization level. So this much changes are going to happen in PRPC. Whenever you create something, right, it creates all these things. We don't have to do anything manually. Additionally, we don't have to create. So let's say if you want to use particular
Okay.
data type and the entire organization level, so you go and create or you go and declare that in our organizational data class. Got it? The scope we are going to specify here. Okay. So for example, let's say if you want to use this data in the motor loan and personal loan, that particular scenario we are going to create in this class. Suppose you
Okay.
want to use some data in the entire applications, you go and create in the organization level
Yep.
data class, right?
Okay.
So similarly, int also this is going to generate in the organization level and at the division level. What is this int is if you want to perform any integration business rules, we are going to do in this particular class. So what happens, right? PRPC basically provides that kind of a scope when you are going to do certain things under that particular class. So whenever you are going to do an integration, so there may be lots of integration rules that you are going to make use of it, right? Basically, we are going to exchange information by using the integration mechanism. Correct? So such kind of rules that you need to have it. So where those kind of rules that we are having it under the integration class that is provided by PRPC, right? Hello,
Yeah.
you're hearing me, right? I can't hear you. Yeah, I didn't speak, so you just left off. Now you can hear, right? Your mic symbol is not showing.
Naresh,
Yeah, right.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes. There is something, some problem
No
with
problem, no problem, no problem. Yeah. Yeah, I think you were typing. I did not see anything what you were typing in the last couple minutes.
Maybe there is something with your problem. Now you can see my screen.
Yeah, I do see, but you were typing and explaining something to me, but I was not able to see what you were typing.
Okay,
That's
let
okay.
me just.
Yeah, that's okay. Keep going. I do see your screen. Yeah.
I just typing
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
You
I
can.
do see. I do see your typing.
Oh, okay, right. So now, what I was trying to say, right? Whenever you are going to do an integration implementation, so we do require lots of predefined integration rules, right? And we are going to
Correct.
reuse a lot of things. So in that particular scenario, you can go to the int class and then do your implementation stuff, which is related to the integration. So what we are going to do, right? Whatever the kind of implementation that you are going to do, so you should go to that particular class and do that. So you should not do everything in one particular class. That's not a good practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you will not get the things that kind of rules. You cannot reuse it. Okay.
Okay.
So this there may be a lot of other classes, right? We are going to use these three classes very frequently. We're going to use
Okay.
these classes very frequently. So that's why I'm just going to stress on these classes. So what we will do, right? Tomorrow we'll try to create an application, okay, using the tool, and
Mm.
let's see all these classes are going to generate. So if you look at here, it is also going to create a lot of other things, whatever that we have specified here. All
Okay.
those things are also going to create under this. So when you
Okay.
create is simply this information, right? When you provide this information,
Mm.
PRPC is going to create so many classes
Mm. 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 Mm.
for you, okay, to do the
Mm.
application development. Okay,
That's good.
so
That's
tomorrow
good.
we'll try to see, we'll provide some information, okay, and then see what
Yeah,
sort of classes.
I have the software. One of my employee gave me software.
Hmm.
I installed on my computer, and I was able to, log in some
Hmm.
using some Pega
Administrator of
administrator account or something like that. And then I don't know what to do from then onwards. So just
okay, right. Let's do it from tomorrow, okay? Just want to
yeah,
give you some heads up, the basic thing which is very important, right? Before
right,
you
right, right,
understand the development, right? So we need to
right,
know
right.
actually what we are going to do.
Is there any material I can go through before the class for tomorrow?
There is no kind of material actually, so there is some handbook is that I'll try to
Okay.
send it a soft copy.
Yeah, yeah. If you can send that, I can read before attend the class so that way I can understand better.
Yes, yes, I have to just find it out in my system, so let me
Yeah,
send you. Let me
yeah. You
check on
can
it.
send it to me or give it to Ashok. He can forward it to me, whatever. I can give my email if I don't know whether you have it or not.
I'll take from Ashok, no problem.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you. Huh?
Thanks for your
Okay, thank you, Naresh. Bye.